Welcome back to today's deep dive, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, same here. This is gonna be a heavy one, but really good.
Oh, absolutely. So to jump right in, I want to start with this quote from our sources today. It says, 5 minutes after you're born, you are assigned a name, a nationality, a religion, and a sect. And you then spend the rest of your life fiercely defending things you never actually chose.
Yeah, it's just a staggering realization when you actually pause and let that sink in.
Right.
You're essentially spending 80 years defending geography and sounds. I mean, a name is at its core just a localized sound vibration used to get your physical attention.
It's just a sound.
Exactly. Yet we attach our entire ego, our absolute sense of self, to these random assignments.
And that quote right there is basically the foundation for what we are getting into today. So we're pulling from a really fascinating collection of philosophical scripts and notes from a creator known as the Honest Channel.
Which is such a great source.
It really is. And the mission here, our mission for this deep dive, is pure self-reflection. We are trying to figure out how you, the listener, can actually find your true self by completely stripping away the deafening external noise of society.
Right, which is honestly the hardest work a human being can do.
Yeah.
Because before we can even attempt to eliminate that noise, we have to confront the really uncomfortable reality of what that noise has built over the decades.
And what has it built?
It's constructed a borrowed identity. From childhood, human beings are just these highly malleable, adaptable survival machines.
We just absorb everything.
Exactly. Our foundational building blocks, our values, our fears, our definitions of success, they were placed there by parents, teachers, authority figures.
And the tragic irony of that, according to the sources anyway, is that those authority figures usually didn't know who they were either. They were just unconsciously passing down the exact same frameworks they inherited. The sources actually call these golden cages.
Yeah, a golden cage. It's a brilliant way to describe it, honestly, because the bars are made of psychological safety.
Right.
We accept the cage because it provides a predictable narrative. If you follow the rules of your assigned nationality or your religion or social class, you get protected by the tribe.
But the cost of that protection is your authenticity.
Precisely. And this leads to what the source material describes as the paradox of borrowed habits. We see people living in this state of constant, quiet cognitive dissonance.
Oh, the sources give these vivid, almost kind of absurd examples of people policing their own desires just to maintain the illusion of their label.
Yeah, like the Orthodox Jew who secretly craves pork.
Yes. Or the strict vegan who vividly dreams of eating a cheeseburger, but they suppress it out of guilt. It's this internal friction that just, burns energy constantly.
Because we are absolutely terrified of losing the tribe, our evolutionary biology hasn't caught up to modern society at all.
Right, our brains are still ancient.
Exactly. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, it still operates on prehistoric logic. It thinks if you deviate from the tribe's expectations, you'll be cast out and you will literally starve or freeze to death. So to ensure survival, we actively suppress our true nature. We perform the identity. We pretend to be fulfilled by the corporate ladder, the superficial small talk, the least luxury cars.
It makes me think of, it's like inheriting a massive, incredibly complex ancestral estate. It's huge, it's beautiful, it's been in your family for generations, but because of tradition, you're only allowed to live in the pantry.
That's a great analogy.
Right. All the other rooms are forbidden, so you spend your entire life exhausting yourself to maintain a mansion that you aren't actually allowed to enjoy.
Yeah, you're just trapped in the pantry.
Exactly.
Huh.
But, I mean, here's my question. If our beliefs and our habits and our physical boundaries are just inherited architecture that we never designed,
Yeah.
what happens when you finally strip it all away? Like if we spend this whole deep dive peeling back our societal labels like an onion, is there actually going to be anything left in the center, or are we just going to find an empty shell?
Oh, that is the ultimate existential terror right there. That fear that if you actually look in the mirror and strip away the borrowed labels, there is literally no one looking back.
That is terrifying.
It is. And that fear is exactly why we avoid self-reflection at all costs. We refuse to look inward because society provides us with an endless, highly optimized stream of alternatives to self-awareness.
Right. We run from the silence straight into passive consumption, which the Honest Channel calls the spectator trap.
Yes, the spectator trap. It is the defining pathology of the modern era. Just think about the mechanics of how we spend our leisure time now.
It's all screens.
Screens and stadiums. We pay exorbitant amounts of money to sit in massive stadiums, or we sit immobilized on our couches scrolling through endless digital feeds, and we silently watch a microscopic percentage of humanity actually play the game of life.
Wow. Yeah.
We watch athletes push their physical limits. We watch actors experience intense emotions. Influencers travel to exotic locations.
We've completely outsourced the messy, chaotic experience of living to professionals. Because, being a spectator is totally safe.
Exactly.
You never fail. You never look foolish. You never have to be a beginner at anything.
But you also never grow. We trade the profound joy of personal creation for automated convenience, and we do this because of the validation loop.
Right, the algorithm.
Yeah, the modern algorithmic feed isn't just a distraction. It is a meticulously engineered psychological trap designed to exploit your brain's reward prediction error.
Okay, wait, explain the mechanics of that, because we hear the phrase dopamine hit thrown around a lot. But what is actually happening in the brain when we fall into this loop?
So dopamine is widely misunderstood as the happiness chemical. It's really not. Dopamine is the molecule of anticipation.
Anticipation, not happiness.
Right. It's the chemical of more. When you post a photo or you're scrolling a feed, your brain doesn't know if you're going to get a reward like a comment or a funny video. So it spikes dopamine to make you seek it out.
It wants you to pull the lever.
Exactly. But digital validation is entirely synthetic. It never triggers the deeper satiation chemicals in the brain, like serotonin or oxytocin, which are the ones released through genuine human connection or deep, focused work.
So it's like a casino slot machine that pays out in proprietary casino chips that you can never actually cash out for real money.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
You sit there pulling the lever, feeling incredibly wealthy inside the flashing lights of the casino, but the moment you step outside, you realize you are spiritually starving.
Precisely. It is digital junk food. It fills your stomach, but provides absolutely zero nutritional value. It leaves your brain chronically malnourished and constantly craving the next pull of the lever.
And it just keeps you hooked.
Yeah, it conditions you to be an obedient, predictable consumer rather than a free, critical thinker.
And the downstream effect of that, according to the sources, is the great expectation gap. Society uses this machinery to sell us a grand illusion.
The highlight reel.
Right. The algorithm shows us the flawlessly curated relationship, the 25-year-old tech millionaire who claims to work 4 hours a week, the perfectly aesthetic morning routines. And then we look up from our screens at our actual, unedited, difficult lives. And we fall right into the gap between that fiction and our reality.
Yeah.
We feel perpetually behind.
Yeah, the expectation gap creates a baseline of chronic anxiety. You are constantly comparing your raw behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's algorithmic advertisement.
It's brutal. But I do have to challenge the practical application of this, though. Like, we know the noise is engineered. We know the algorithms are manipulating our desires.
Sure.
But with all this engineered noise, is it actually possible to unplug and have an original thought today without, committing social and career suicide? I mean, in a world where your network is your net worth, how do you separate the toxic noise from the essential connection you need to just survive the modern economy?
Well, that right there is the most common defense mechanism we use to stay plugged in. Yeah, absolutely. But we have to distinguish between utility and identity. Using a professional network to find a client is utilizing a tool.
Okay, that makes sense.
But mindlessly scrolling a feed for 2 hours to numb your anxiety because you hate your job, that is surrendering your identity. The sources argue that reclaiming your original thoughts doesn't require moving to a cabin in the woods permanently, but it absolutely requires a dedicated period of withdrawal.
You have to step back.
You do. You have to willingly enter what they call the Hermit Phase.
The Hermit Phase. It sounds severe, but mechanically it makes perfect sense. I mean, if you've been living in a factory with alarms blaring for 20 years, you can't just whisper a new idea to yourself and expect to hear it.
No, you won't hear a thing.
Right. You have to shut the machines off. And the source material offers a very specific physical challenge to initiate this.
They do. It's the social media uninstall. And it is a brilliant psychological experiment. You don't dramatically announce your departure. You don't delete your account so you lose your contacts.
No grand exit.
Right. No grand exit. You simply long press the app icons on your phone and hit uninstall. And you commit to doing it for just a week.
Let's talk about what actually happens in the brain during the first 72 hours of that challenge, because the sources are very clear that it is not peaceful at first.
Oh, it's awful at first.
Initially, you experience literal withdrawal. You reach for your phone while you're in line at the grocery store, and there's a flash of panic when the app isn't there. You suddenly have to sit alone with your own unedited thoughts, which is honestly terrifying.
Because the noise acts as an anesthetic. When you remove it, you finally feel the pain of your own dissatisfaction.
Wow.
But if you can push past that initial friction, something remarkable happens. You realize the Earth keeps rotating. You realize that your absence from the digital stage didn't cause the universe to collapse.
You aren't that important to the algorithm.
Exactly. And most importantly, the physical and emotional space in your mind begins to expand.
Which ushers in the true hermit phase. And this isn't about becoming spiritually enlightened in some mystical way. It's simply about finally paying attention to your own psychology. You start to see the performance of everyday life for what it is, and you stop faking it.
You drop the mask. You stop forcing the superficial small talk. You stop manufacturing excitement for cultural events you genuinely do not care about.
Yeah, fake excitement is so exhausting.
It is. You stop performing your happiness for an audience of acquaintances. You just quietly step off the stage and sit in the empty auditorium.
But I want to explore the fallout of that. Because taking off that mask isn't just an internal shift. It has massive external consequences. It's like a lobster shedding its shell. You know, it's soft, exposed, and vulnerable to predators.
That's a very real way to look at it.
Or like a deep-sea diver coming up from the abyss. You can't just shoot straight to the surface. You need to sit in a decompression chamber, or the pressure change will literally kill you. The hermit phase is that decompression chamber.
I love that analogy.
But while you're in there, you're isolated. So doesn't this hermit phase sound incredibly lonely? If I stop performing, if I start outgrowing the friends who only knew the fake me, how do I process the grief of losing those relationships?
The grief is real, and the sources, they don't shy away from it. Growth requires an enormous amount of emotional collateral. When you change your frequency, you will inevitably cause static with the people still operating on your old bandwidth.
That makes total sense.
But true growth demands radical compassion, both for yourself and for them.
Meaning you don't judge them for staying the same.
Exactly. You have to let go without bitterness.
Yeah.
You recognize that your friends, or even your family members, they are just playing the game they were taught to play. They are still defending their assigned labels.
Right.
You don't look down on them, but you also refuse to stunt your own psychological evolution just to keep them comfortable.
There's an old Zen concept that fits perfectly here. It's about treating them like empty boats drifting past you on a foggy lake.
Oh, I've heard this.
Yeah. If an empty boat bumps into yours, you don't get angry at the boat. It's just following the current. You gently push it away and keep rowing.
That's beautiful. And the promise of the hermit phase is that the isolation is not permanent. It is a necessary filter. Once you have fully decompressed, once you are entirely comfortable sitting in the silence of your own unperformed existence, you will naturally begin to attract your actual tribe.
They're real people.
Yes, you will find the people who resonate with the frequency of your true self, rather than the loud, desperate broadcast of your ego.
Okay, so we've survived the decompression chamber. We've deleted the digital junk food. We've let the empty boats drift away.
We made it through.
Now we are standing in the middle of this vast, terrifyingly quiet, empty space in our own minds. How do we rebuild? Because, nature abhors a vacuum. If we don't actively build a true self, the old programming will just seep back in under the door.
Rebuilding requires you to become a psychological detective. You have to decode your own desires. Society has spent decades telling you what you should want. Now you have to find out what you actually want.
And how do we do that?
The sources suggest utilizing a root cause analysis technique famously known as the 5 whys.
Oh, this is such a powerful mechanical way to bypass our own rationalizations.
Yeah.
You take a surface-level desire and interrogate it relentlessly. So let's use the most common one. I want to make $1 million.
Classic.
Right. If you ask the first why, the answer is usually, so I can quit my corporate job.
Which is still a surface-level logistical answer. So you ask why again. Why do I want to quit my job?
Because I hate being micromanaged by my boss.
Okay, why does being micromanaged cause me so much distress?
Because it makes me feel like I have absolutely no control over my own time or energy.
Why is controlling your own time so essential to you?
Because without it, I feel trapped and suffocated.
And there it is. The 5th why reveals the emotional root. The true desire is not a stack of printed paper money. The true desire is autonomy. The desire is freedom from suffocation.
And once you isolate the actual emotional need, autonomy, you suddenly realize there are 100 different ways to achieve that feeling that don't require sacrificing the next 20 years of your life to earn $1 million. You've successfully separated the core human need from the societal should.
Exactly. And once you start decoding these desires, your energy naturally begins to shift direction. For your entire life, your energy was pointed outward, absorbing the noise, consuming the content, reacting to the algorithms.
All Spectator stuff.
Right. But in the silence, that energy hits a wall and reflects back inward. You transition from a passive consumer to an active creator.
Which is a fundamental shift in how you interact with reality. But I want to note, the sources are very careful to redefine what creating means here. We aren't talking about starting a side hustle to monetize your hobbies.
No, absolutely not. Monetization is just another golden cage. The true self wants to create for the intrinsic joy of participating in existence. You must compose music that no one will ever hear. You must plant a garden just to watch the soil move.
Or draw terrible sketches.
Yes. Draw terrible, technically flawed sketches simply because the act of moving the pencil proves that you are alive. You create to prove to your own nervous system that you are no longer sitting in the stadium. You are finally on the field.
But getting on the field is where we hit the final massive wall of resistance. Motivation is a myth. It's a spark that burns out in 3 days. Why does our brain fight us so fiercely when we try to implement these changes?
It fights back hard.
Right. Why do we buy the canvas and the paints, feel incredibly inspired, and then a week later they are shoved in the back of a closet while we scroll on the couch? How do we stop ourselves from reinstalling the old, comfortable operating system?
Because you are attempting to bypass millions of years of evolutionary programming. Your brain's primary directive is not to make you happy or fulfilled, it is to keep you alive. And it equates the familiar with safety.
Even if the familiar is miserable.
Even if it's miserable. Your predictable routine requires very little cognitive energy, and it hasn't killed you yet. Radical change triggers the exact same threat response in the nervous system as a physical predator.
It's like a massive corporate IT department running a legacy accounting system from 1998.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
The system is buggy, it's slow, and it makes everyone miserable. But when you try to install a brilliant, highly efficient new software patch, like deciding you're going to work out for an hour every day, the IT department panics.
It freaks out.
It doesn't recognize the code. It fears a total system crash, so its firewall blocks the installation completely, and it forces the system to reboot in safe mode. And safe mode is the couch and a bag of chips. So how do we bypass our own internal IT department?
You don't attack the firewall. You sneak past it using micro-habits. You have to inject code so incredibly small that the threat detection system doesn't even register it.
Sneaky.
Very. You do not tell your brain, we are going to reinvent our entire physical fitness routine. The amygdala will shut that down immediately. You tell your brain, I am going to do exactly one push-up and then I am going to stop.
You replace the agonizing dread of I'll do it later with the microscopic friction of do it right now.
Right now. Exactly.
You're going to read a difficult philosophical book. Commit to reading one single paragraph. You want to meditate. Stare at the wall for exactly 60 seconds.
Because consistency completely overrides intensity. By keeping the action so small that it is literally impossible to fail, you bypass the fear response. Over weeks and months, you are quietly proving to your nervous system that this new behavior is safe.
The legacy IT system just accepts it.
It accepts the tiny strings of code until, eventually, the entire operating system has been upgraded without triggering a single alarm.
It is the compound interest of self-sovereignty. You are mechanically rewiring your neural pathways through tiny, undeniable victories. So you strip away the inherited labels, you endure the decompression of the Hermit Phase, you decode your actual desires, and then you rebuild your reality so quietly that your own fear response never even wakes up.
It is a profound, incredibly actionable blueprint. But the honest channel sources, they conclude with a deeply philosophical, almost mind-bending perspective shift. It's a concept that reframes this entire struggle.
Lay it on us, because we've been very mechanical up to this point. I want to hear the philosophy.
It is the concept of being irreplaceable, the cosmic observer. We spend our days drowning in the noise, agonizing over our lack of status, our lack of wealth, our inability to match the algorithmic perfection we see on our screens.
Yeah, we really do.
But in doing so, we become completely blind to the terrifying mathematical miracle of our own presence.
The miracle that we actually exist at all against impossible odds.
Exactly. The universe is a staggeringly vast, completely unconscious expanse of dark matter, burning gas, and empty space. Without consciousness, the universe just is. It has no beauty, no passage of time, no meaning.
It's just void.
Right. It requires an observer to make it real. The ultimate human need is not to acquire wealth, it is the fundamental need to be needed. And the profound truth is that the universe had a microscopic, terrifyingly specific, empty space that could only be filled by your exact consciousness.
That is heavy. The universe didn't just accidentally produce you, it required you to act as its sensory organ. It needed your specific presence right now in this exact coordinate of time and space to witness the phenomenon of existence.
It completely shatters the illusion of the noise. If you deeply, truly integrated that realization that your consciousness is the lens through which the universe is experiencing itself, how could you possibly justify wasting another day defending a label that a stranger assigned to you 5 minutes after you were born?
You wouldn't. It wouldn't even compute.
Exactly. Why would you endure the profound anxiety of the great expectation gap? Why would you care what a disembodied algorithm thinks of your productivity? You weren't built to be a cog in a legacy IT system, and you weren't built to sit in the spectator stands. You were required by the cosmos to be an active participant in reality.
Wow. It really recontextualizes the whole journey. When you take the terrifying step of looking in the mirror and you endure the silence of stripping away your name, your job title, your political affiliations, and your societal expectations, you don't find an empty shell. You find the irreplaceable observer.
Beautifully said.
So here is the challenge we want to leave you with today. Sometime in the next 24 hours, find a way to shut off the machines, uninstall the apps, put the phone in another room, and just sit in the deafening silence of your own mind. Confront the observer in the mirror. Ask yourself what you are still defending that you never actually chose. Have a great deep dive into your own mind, everyone. We will catch you next time.